What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the show. So today we're going to take a look and a listen to Martin O'Malley. He is the commissioner of the Social Security Administration, and many people don't even know who this is. And I've had him, I've talked about him on this channel before, and I think it's important that we know who the commissioner is of the Social Security Administration, because you could be in a situation where you don't receive your check. Who do you get mad at? Who do you go to? You don't go to the president. You don't go to Congress. You actually go to Martin O'Malley because he's the commissioner and he is in charge of getting those checks out on time. So there was an exclusive interview that a local news outlet did with him. And so we're going to kind of go behind the scenes and we'll listen to what Martin O'Malley has to say about Social Security. So we're going to do all that in this video. But first off, you guys can do two things for me. Just like the video and subscribe to the channel. Okay, let's go ahead and we'll open this up and we will take a look and a listen to Martin O'Malley. Here we go.
Of Social Security, many people across the country and even across Maryland don't realize that the powerful agency is located right here in Baltimore. Tonight, I have an exclusive interview with the head of the agency, former Baltimore mayor and former governor, Martin O'Malley. O'Malley gave WJZ unprecedented access to parts of the Social Security Administration that few people have ever seen, some of which we can't show you to protect your privacy and the inner workings of this massive agency. What is not a secret is the Baltimore man in charge and how he is working to make SSA better for you. Martin O'Malley bounds around the massive sprawling complex of buildings at the Social Security Administration in Woodlawn like a man on a mission, because he is. Appointed to the post as commissioner of the SSA by President Joe Biden, it is not lost on him the magnitude and the importance of his job. Is it pretty amazing to you that you're here doing this? You've been the mayor of Baltimore, the governor of the state, and now the commissioner for Social Security Administration.
I would never have dreamed, I would never have guessed. This was not a card I ever would have picked up from the table. But I was honored when the White House called and asked me to do it, because think about it, Vic. I get to travel 22 minutes in the morning across Northern Parkway to be able to serve in the national headquarters of the Social Security Administration, which serves 80 million Americans.
And that's just the tip of the iceberg. O'Malley has a workforce of over 54,000 employees, 8,000 of those in the Baltimore region, and 1,500 facilities across the country and around the world. His budget for benefits paid out and operations is second only to that of the Department of Defense. And as big as that may seem, it's still not enough. A staffing shortage is resulting in long wait times when clients call SSA, and even longer to get some benefits, something he's working to correct.
I visited all 9 regions of the country within my first 2 weeks. In January, I sat side by side with people on the co-pilot headphones in the teleservice centers. So I heard those angry calls of people waiting on hold for an hour, or sat on the other side of the plexiglass from a grandmother who was frightened because her grandson's SSI benefits were about to be redetermined.
Many people in Maryland and across the city of Baltimore worry about Social Security and whether it'll be around when they need it. What's the answer?
Yes, we face a depletion event. It doesn't mean that Social Security would go bankrupt. I know that a lot of the headlines scream that, and the clickbait stuff that you see on social media says it'll never be there for you. Heck, when I was in college, my friends and I used to tell each other it won't be there for us, and now I'm 2 years away from being able to apply for Social Security. So it is an elegantly simple program in this respect, that so long as Americans are working and paying into Social Security, there will be a benefit.
For him, this job, as massive as it is still personal. It's still local. He lives here. This is home.
I believe that Baltimore's future can be bright, but we have to choose to make it bright. We have to embrace the truth of our current situation, and we have to move forward again. Here's a fact I bet you didn't know. The Social Security Administration has been headquartered in Baltimore since 1936, originally at the Candler Building on Pratt Street at the Inner Harbor. And every baby born in America gets their Social Security number from the Social Security office located on
Wabash Avenue, right
Did
here
not
in
know
Baltimore.
that at all. And I also had no sense of how enormous it is as an administration.
Yes, the second largest budget in the federal government behind the Department of Defense.
Amazing. And people are going to be so happy to hear him say it's going to be around.
Yes,
You don't have
most
to worry about it going away.
Okay, so that was an interesting story with Martin O'Malley talking about Social Security. Now, there are a couple of things that caught my eye. The first thing is, obviously, he's saying that Social Security will still be around. Okay, you will have people out there that will say Social Security is going bankrupt. It is not going bankrupt. The trust funds, you have two trust funds, will be insolvent in about 11 years, which means it'll be what he called a depletion in benefits, which means you could see a cut of about 23%. So Congress needs to act. They need to reform Social Security, bring in more revenue for Social Security so we won't see that 23% cut. However, Social Security as a whole will still be there. As long as you have people working, paying into the payroll contribution, you will have Social Security benefits. Now, it is important that we say as long as you have people paying into the payroll contribution, because you have lawmakers out there that want to cut taxes, and one of the taxes that they want to cut is the payroll contribution. And so if they cut the payroll contribution, that could mean that Social Security will end at that point because you have no more revenue going into the Social Security Administration to pay out benefits. And so that's the fear there. Or you have some politicians that will say, we should privatize Social Security. Give people the option to take a portion of that payroll contribution and invest it in the stock market. Now, that might sound good for people who are younger, but the way that the system works is when you're younger and you're working, you're paying into that payroll contribution, and that money goes out to people who are currently retired and receiving Social Security benefits. And so if you took a portion of that, if you're younger and you took a portion of that and you were allowed to invest that in the stock market, well, you're taking that portion out of that payroll contribution that's going to the Social Security Administration to help pay out benefits, which means when those people that are receiving benefits won't be able to receive as much, or we'll see the whole program just collapse on itself because it won't have enough money to pay out those benefits. And the younger people, they'll probably be okay because they'll be taking a portion of it, investing it, and have it in their own little stock portfolio. And so when they retire, they'll have something, but there'll be that huge gap of people who are currently receiving benefits that will struggle as a result. So anytime you hear people talking about privatized Social Security, just understand some of those people are talking about dismantling Social Security and making it so you will no longer be receiving your benefits, and people who are younger will have some type of a private pension benefit, so it will no longer be Social Security. And so I just wanted to note that. And then the last thing I want to talk about, you heard him say they have 1,500 offices all over the U.S. as well as other countries. You do have Social Security Administration offices in other countries because in most countries, you can receive Social Security benefits. Now, some people don't know this, but you can. You can become an expat. You can leave the U.S., go live in the Philippines, go live in Thailand, go live in Colombia, go live in all these different places, and you'll still be able to receive your Social Security benefits. Okay, now, when it comes to SSI, you won't qualify if you're receiving SSI because SSI is not Social Security. But Social Security disability, you have to look into that a little bit more. I have heard of people being able to leave the U.S. and still receive Social Security disability. But like I said, that's on a more of a case-by-case basis. But when it comes to Social Security, if you're retired and you're receiving those benefits, you can leave, and you can go to most countries. There are only a few countries that are on the list that you will not be able to receive benefits. Cuba is one of them, North Korea, and there might be a couple of others. But when it comes down to it, if you are in a situation, and I've talked about this, I haven't talked about this in a while, and I do want to talk about it a little bit more, but if you are in a situation where you are struggling in the U.S. and you cannot afford to pay rent, you cannot afford your house, you cannot afford food, things like that, you could consider leaving the U.S. and going somewhere else where it's much cheaper to live. And you have a lot of people doing this in the Philippines right now. You have a lot of people doing it in Thailand and in Colombia and in Mexico and a lot of different countries where they'll take that U.S. dollar and they'll have that purchasing power that they've always dreamed of. They can have a nice house. They can pay $300 for rent and live in a nice community. And sometimes you can pay maybe a little bit more and live right on the beach. And then when it comes to food, the cost of food in a lot of these countries, it's much more affordable than in the U.S. And I know personally because I travel a lot and I stay in places. I go to Colombia all the time. I stay there for long periods of time, and the cost of things is just it will blow your mind how inexpensive things are for housing and for food and just for activities, going out to just do things. And so it's worth mentioning that if you are in another country, you can still, there are Social Security offices in different countries. And maybe I'll do a separate video and I'll let you guys see where you have offices all around the world. And also maybe I'll do some exclusives where we talk to different people around the world who are living solely on Social Security benefits, because you can't do it in the U.S. I understand it's hard. If you do not have a retirement plan set up, or if you had a retirement plan set up and it's now depleted and all you have is Social Security, it's a struggle. And some of these same people who are struggling in the U.S. are in other countries, and they're living it up. They're living upper middle class in some of these countries. So if you guys have any questions, let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe for more, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.